Hi, everybody. Welcome to The Right Side with Doug Billings. Thanks for watching. And a reminder, please make sure that you subscribe to our program on all of the major platforms, podcast platforms across America. We are on all of them. So choose your favorite and subscribe to us, whether it's Apple Podcast or Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, or Stitcher. We are on all of them. And then if you want to see the program, please head over to YouTube, subscribe to the channel there. We're also on CloudHub, Parler, and Twitter. Make sure that you subscribe to us and like us wherever you see us. Today is a big day for us here at The Right Side. We have Darlene Swaffar with us. He is the Republican candidate for Congress from Florida's 22nd district. That's Broward and Palm Beach counties in Florida. And we are just tickled that she's here with us. And Darlene, thanks for joining us here on The Right Side today.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for having me. It's my honor and my pleasure, Doug.
Excellent. You know, we are literally in the home stretch, aren't we, before the primary down there in your 22nd district, Darlene?
We are. Polls opened up on Saturday. We have our poll signs at every polling station in Broward County and 2 in Palm Beach. And the official day where I think most people are probably going to come out and vote would be on Tuesday, August the 18th. That's next week from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Excellent. And as we begin our discussion today, I've got a few questions, and I logged on to your website and saw this excellent information out there for all of the folks that are watching. If they would go to www.swaffordforcongress.com, that's all spelled out, swaffordforcongress.com. Lots of good information about you. I'm curious, Darlene, in your own words, in a kind of an opening Reader's Digest statement of your candidacy and how you see yourself in this. What do you want to tell your potential constituents in the 22nd district about voting for you?
Well, I'm the only candidate running in the state of Florida with health insurance expertise and economic development expertise. Regarding health insurance, I've been in the health insurance industry for about 11 years, and that's with Medicare, individual health, and group. And I believe there's several, maybe just 2 or 3 legislators in Congress that even have that type of experience to be able to work on healthcare legislation. And then regarding economic development, 20 years ago when I sat on the board of the Puerto Rican Chamber of Commerce, I served on planning sessions with the Beacon Council that focused on growing and diversifying Miami's economy. They've done a great job. They don't have cyclical downturns. It's an even economy all year round. And unfortunately, that hasn't been a focus in Broward and Palm Beach. So I want to kind of affect a change and, help major companies move in, either headquarter or satellite, so that we have year-round residents, higher paying jobs, and less downturn between May and September. So those are 2 reasons. The other reason would be that, when you're thinking about sending a candidate to Congress, you want them to have specific traits. You want them to be fiscally responsible. Well, I was an accounting major in high school and college. And personally, I have no debt. My business was self-funded and is debt-free. You want them to have project management experience. Well, in my business, there's a lot of project management, especially with open enrollment. We have a team of agents that when we have to staff different locations like Publix, Walmart, CVS during our busy season, you want them to have training experience so everybody can be functional within the team. And I have a proprietary training program that I created for my agents, and I've always been in a training capacity role for more than 30 years. My background is banking, mortgage, insurance. I was a corporate recruiter at one point for 8 years. I know how to design a job description and staff an amazing team with behavioral interviewing techniques. And you want somebody to be a strategic thinker, problem solver, and that's what entrepreneurs are, right? We need more business leaders in Congress. We have too many attorneys that are over analytical. We need doers. We need people that are going to go in there and solve the problem of the stalemate of what we have in Congress. Partisanship, not bipartisanship. We need to work together. So I think that's what I bring to the table is, somebody that's going to be focusing on solving the issues that we have at hand and growing our economy, growing and pushing this country forward.
Excellent. And I couldn't agree more with you. And you bring up an interesting point. I agree that there are too many darn lawyers in politics in Washington. And I think that, the president has shown, for example, that a businessman who knows how to cut through bureaucracy and get rid of unnecessary, burdensome regulations and so forth. But specific to Florida, with regards to the economy and businesses, I hear that there is, I think Ron DeSantis is a fine governor and a good guy, but I think that what we've got in Florida, and you tell me if you agree, is that he's facing too much pressure from the Democratic side to keep the economy shut down unnecessarily so. What are your
Yes, and
thoughts on that?
I mean, I'm seeing more and more businesses shutting down, and it's really disheartening. These are people that, this is my community. This is my people. Okay. And I don't think
Yeah.
in terms of what I'm going to do in Congress as a leader. I am a servant. I'm a servant to we the people. And so when people in my community are losing their business, that pains me significantly because, of
Mhm.
course, my whole focus is economic development, right? So,
Yeah.
nobody's talking about that. Nobody's talking about the continual shutdown of our economy, what it's doing to families, the stress, mental health issues, marital issues, the strain on
Mhm.
the family. People can't put food on the table. I was
Yep.
at a Feeding South Florida event at my church at Abundant Life. There were thousands of cars that came
Mm.
through, all cars, from Hondas to Infinities.
Yeah.
People are hurting in this
Mhm.
community, and it's across all economic levels. Don't think just because somebody made 100,000 a year, all of a sudden they're doing great. No, they've probably already have gone through all their savings. If their business is shut down, the bills don't stop. Mortgage doesn't stop. Food on the table, electric bill, insurance, nothing stops. And so
Right.
nobody's really talking about the human aspect and toll of what the shutdown is doing to our community.
I agree. Well said. And your passion is, it rings true here too. I think that, you know, it's the whole, this whole, perfect storm that we've experienced since the
Yes.
time COVID hit. Really, that's a secondary issue now. We've got to get our lives back opened up.
Yes.
We can't let this be a template for how we behave in the future. I mean, more
Right.
people are going to be ruined, to your point. More people
Hmm.
are going to be ruined financially
Yes.
than the virus ever touched. And so I hope that if you prevail, I hope that you
Mhm.
can encourage and help Governor DeSantos, be more inclined to open rather than continually shut down the
Yes,
economy.
I would be very vocal, Doug, about it's time to open up America. I have a TV commercial coming on Fox News morning, noon,
Yeah,
and night, and it's in my message. It's time to open up America and
awesome.
send a pro to Congress.
Yep.
I am pro law and order, pro
Yep.
veterans, pro Constitution, and unapologetically pro President Trump and pro
Yep.
school choices. So I
Yep.
want to push this economy forward.
Absolutely. And I have a sneaking suspicion as we look at the riots and the chaos that are marching sadly and demonstrating sadly in the cities that are run by the Democratic Socialist Party, and that's what I call them
Yes,
now. We have
yes.
to resist this nonsense about
Yes.
defunding the police, Darlene.
I mean, this is an atrocity. Why are we even talking about this? Is absolutely ludicrous. I mean,
Yeah.
and with Mayor Jenny Durkin in Seattle, Washington, she was on TV saying, well, Trump can't just come in and instill law and order. Technically, there's some truth and erroneous facts behind that. And it goes back to the Constitution. So remember when our president said during the COVID crisis, we're going to allow the governors to decide what they're going to do and we're not going
Yes.
to overstep their boundaries. He was simply following the Constitution. But in the case of the mayor not providing civil safety and infringing on local residents, if she can't perform her oath for her office, then the governor needs to step in. And if the governor cannot fulfill their oath of office, the president can come in with the National Guard and restore order. He absolutely has
Yeah.
the right. And people
Yeah.
forget we're still in a national emergency, which gives our president more executive power. Okay.
Mhm.
So people just don't realize that fact. But I think our president has shown amazing restraint, and he knows that there's moves and counter moves, right, in a chess
Yes.
game.
Yep.
And you know that they were pushing his buttons for him to take action, for them to turn around and call him a dictator. That was the whole goal
Of
of
course.
all those.
I know it.
So yeah,
I
so
know
we all could figure it out. We could see how all this is playing out.
it.
And
Yep.
eventually he did have to go in and protect government property. He didn't go in into the city. He was smart
Yeah.
enough to do that, but he did go in and provide some order with our government buildings. They're government owned. He absolutely has the right to protect government property.
I agree. And you brought her up, Mayor Jenny Durkin. It's so infuriating what she has done. I mean, she at the beginning of the summer, when CHOP or Chaz or whatever the heck they
Yes.
called, hey, it's going to be a summer of love out here in
Summer
Seattle.
of love.
It was a summer of rape and murder, ladies and gentlemen,
Crazy.
and
It was
she's
honestly
culpable
crazy.
for that. She never said a word about it until, of course, they showed up on her doorstep, and then all
Yes.
of a sudden, oh no, yeah, it's crazy. So it gives the term "sleepless in Seattle" a whole new meaning, and it's
Whole new
terrible.
meaning.
It's terrible. And
It
as
is.
far as the mob, and I think that you're right, we do all see this, and I've said. Since the mob started acting up, people are, oh my gosh, that's all we see on the news. And I say, well, hang on, you got to remember the mob is less than 0.001% of our entire
Right.
population. And as far as I'm concerned, this country is filled with common sense, decent American people who see through this. And the mob, if the mainstream media wants to show it every night on television, it's the best commercial for people like you and
Yes.
President Trump,
Yes. Yes.
because
I
that
agree.
we don't stand for that, and we
Yeah.
can't.
I think the silent majority is going to be an unstoppable force. And I
Yeah.
do believe that through AI technology, they know what our conversations are about, Doug. They know our behavior on social media. They know there's going to be over 100 million Americans voting for Trump and voting
Yeah.
for Republicans down the line. They already know that. So,
Yep.
all the false polls that they're pushing out is to
Yep.
discourage people not to vote. Don't listen. Turn off your TV,
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
your own research, talk to your neighbors. I'm all focused on unity. As long as we're divided, we don't see the enemy. So we need to focus on, united we stand, divided we fall. Talk to your neighbors, band together. The silent majority is a real phenomenon.
It
Okay.
is absolutely so. Now, you mentioned social media. Just real quickly
Mhm.
on this one, I want to touch on this because it's an issue in today's news. If elected, what kind of influence would you have on the major social media platforms with regards to censorship and just blatant
Yes.
removal of
Mhm.
conservative thought and voices in the public square?
It's actually in place already, Doug. There's already legislation in place and executive orders in place that President Trump took action on. And there's a lawsuit against all of social media platforms. So that includes, matter of fact, they had hearings. So Facebook, Twitter, um, Google, they're all implicated in these lawsuits and they're all being challenged. The only platform that I've come across that is not focusing on censorship is Parler, Parler, which I do have a profile. And so
Hmm.
far, so good. Dan
Good.
Bongino was promoting that.
Yes, I'm on Parler as well. There's also a new one out there called Clout Hub, which you should look up.
Okay.
CLOUT Hub, Clout Hub.
Okay. I will
Little
look that up.
shameless plug, yes. Now, what about it? And ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that are just tuning in, we're talking with Darlene Swaffar, who is a Republican candidate in Florida's 22nd district. That's Broward and Palm Beach counties in Florida. Darlene, what are your thoughts on and first of all, I got to tell you, I wanted to make sure that I mentioned your pedigree. So your ninth great uncle is Benjamin Franklin, and you're an ascendant. You had some relatives fight in the War of 1812 and the United States Revolutionary War.
Yes,
Uh,
yes. Yeah, it
I
was
think
exciting.
I'm a geek enough to find that just totally fascinating. I just think it's outstanding.
Yeah.
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 Along those lines, another issue, and I assume that you're a staunch supporter of our Second Amendment. We broadcast from the Midwest, and our neighborhood is Kansas City, St. Louis, but we go all over the country. In St. Louis, you heard, I'm sure, of the McCluskey family, who had a group of violent protesters
Yes.
break down a gate, and the city prosecutor in St. Louis, who's a liberal,
Hmm.
literally had warrants issued and took away their guns. In a brief statement, what are your thoughts on the Second Amendment and how it applies to situations of defending your property?
Yes. It's interesting because they're attorneys that fight for civil rights.
Yeah.
And, they're law-abiding citizens. They lawfully purchased their weapons. They had every right to defend their property. These individuals broke through a secure gate into a private
Yeah.
residence, a gated community,
Yeah.
and, shouted at them their intentions to basically cause havoc. And so now you have the deputy, I guess the deputy attorney in that state that confiscated, that's an unlawful confiscation of a weapon, absolutely infringing on their Second Amendment rights, which if they're attorneys, I'm really curious to see how that's all going to play out. And you know what I'm really, really curious about? If they're going to switch their party.
I am too. I bet they do. I think, and again, it goes to what we're talking about, Darlene, with regards to Mayor Jenny Durkin or Gavin Newsom in California. Any
Yes.
of these, you've got Lori Lightfoot in Chicago, and isn't Chicago a mess? I mean, it's just
Absolutely
on fire this morning. But with every kook decision that these people make, with every illegal act, like taking these guns, I just think, to your point earlier about the silent majority, I just can't help but have strong confidence in the fact that with every decision these people make, every crazy mandate, every shutdown of the economy, they nudge the entire country closer to the Republican Party.
That, and so many people are moving, the middle class, even wealthy residents, business, they're closing up their shop, and they're moving out by the droves, by the thousands, from New York, from Illinois, from California. There's like a mass exodus.
Well,
and
we just have to be careful. They're all moving to Florida. We have to make sure we keep Florida red. I mean, a lot of liberals are moving down to Florida.
You know what, though? A lot of them are not liberal. A lot of them are already registered Republicans. And if they are liberal, they've already realized, okay, those policies don't really work to my benefit. So hopefully they've changed their ideas, and, they'll start talking to their neighbors down here. And we love our state. We don't have any state taxes. We're a pro law and order state and a pro gun state and a stand your ground state. So, hopefully they'll learn.
I know it, right? All right. Well, in this part of the program, we go to our last two, and I want this. So the last two questions, a minute each, and then we'll give you a chance to kind of just, sum up and again, say, give a closing statement to our audience.
Sure.
But the last two, term limits. I noticed on your website, you're in favor of them. What does that look like if you're elected?
Yeah, I mean, I think that nobody should really make a career out of public service. I think that's where, historically the corruption has come from. And then you forget what is the agenda? It should not be like, if I go into Congress, I should not have an agenda. My only focus should be focusing on serving my community and fulfilling their agenda. And so therein lies the issue, right? So, I mean, I don't think there should be more than 2 terms. Now, I'm sorry, 4 terms in Congress equaling 8 years, exactly like the president. And regarding the Senate, probably no more than 2 terms, although that would probably equal 12 years because they serve for 6 years.
Right.
But there should even be a limit on if somebody moves from the House to the Senate and goes on to other positions. There should be a limit on that as well.
And another thing that caught my eye on your website was your interest in rewriting the American civics courses in elementary through college. Now, this is an important, I mean, we have an indoctrination, Darlene, in our country.
Absolutely.
Liberal educational systems teaching our children to hate our republic. Give me a minute on that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I want to work with historians. There's a lot of mistruths in our history books, and it really stems from what I learned on Ancestry.com. The earliest recorded Black American that served in an official capacity in public service was a mayor in the 1700s, up in New York. And nobody knows about that. Back in the 17th century, we had Black Americans that were property owners, business owners, seamstresses, teachers, professors, nurses, doctors. And that's nowhere to be found in our history book. So to me, I find that to be a problem, because they need to understand they served in militias. Before we even had the military, they served in militias. They fought in every war, Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, the Civil War. That's nowhere to be found in our history books. And so that would, I think, bridge the racial divide for them to understand we all had an equal part in the creation of our country, okay? And we all have an obligation to respect our ancestors' roles. And we have, that's going to play into our sovereignty. That's going to play into us appreciating the fact that we come from the most amazing country on the planet. So I feel like, they're constantly attacking our appreciation as Americans to live in this country. And that comes from how infactual our history books have been written.
I love it. You're one of the only candidates who have spoken about that particular topic, and I think it's an important topic. I really do, and
Yes.
I appreciate your passion surrounding that. Well, as we begin to close out, I want to mention, your endorsements are impressive, Darlene. The Republican National Hispanic Assembly, the Greater South Florida Chamber of Commerce, the Conservative Choice Campaign. My friend Darren Aquino from the other side of Florida on the opposite coast has endorsed you as well. I tell you, if you both get in Congress, that's going to be a force to be reckoned with right there. I wish you the best, but take a couple of minutes and address the 22nd district in Florida, and your appeal to them to be elected is because of what?
Well, I also have two more endorsements. Vets for Trump, which is a 450 member organization nationwide, and Beverly Kennedy from the Beverly Kennedy radio show.
Yes.
She just endorsed me. So I'm really, really honored about those endorsements. As a resident of South Florida for 27 years, no one matches my record of serving my community with distinctions. I'd like, South Florida to know that. As a Hispanic woman who's a conservative and a Republican, they don't want me in Congress. I'm going to tell you that right now, because I dispel the narrative. I completely I grew up from a war-torn drug zone in Brooklyn, New York, and left and became an entrepreneur in South Florida. All Republican policies that made that happen. So, I mean, you don't want me in Congress. It's an FYI on that one. I'm a staunch supporter of our Constitution. I am pro-veterans, I'm pro-seniors, and my goal is to work with, Veterans for Trump to have a dedicated 800 number for our veterans straight into my chambers. I want to have an 800 number for our seniors. They are the least served in my community. We have huge senior communities in my district. So Century Village, Winmore, some other, local communities. So I want to be a different congresswoman for this district. I want to be visible. I want to have, staff that answers the phones and, takes care of the appeals of my community. And I'm doing this for the right reasons. It's time to help our president drain the swamp. He needs a Congress that will work with him, not against him. And I think that Americans in general, we're fed up with the old way of doing politics in this country, which has been systemically corrupt. Money funneling, money laundering. We've had enough. We've had enough. We want patriots, everyday Americans, business leaders in Congress to push this country forward. And I believe that I can do that for my community. So again, my name is Darlene Swaffar. I want to be your Congresswoman for Florida District 22. Don't forget, primary is August 18th. Please come out and vote for me. Push the strongest candidate forward.
Excellent. And go to www.swaffordforcongress.com, ladies and gentlemen, and see some more information about Darlene, who wants to represent the 22nd District in Florida. Darlene, we can't thank you enough I don't say this every time when I interview a politician, but you have a charisma and a passion that just blows through the screen. And it's exciting to hear. Truly is to hear someone with your kind of passion for our republic. We here at the Right Side wish you every piece of good luck in the campaign.
Thank you. Let's take this country back.
Let's do it. Absolutely. Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Doug Billings on the Right Side with our guest, Darlene Swaffar. Please make sure that you check her out, and make sure that you please subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform and over on YouTube. Listen, each of us, if we turn around and look, has a pack of blessings on our backs, ladies and gentlemen. May God continue to bless you, and may he continue to bless and guide the United States of America. Good day. Hi, everybody. This is Doug Billings from The Right Side. Thanks for watching and listening every day on our podcast. We appreciate it. I want to say a special shout out to a friend of the show. He goes by the name of Commander's Artist, the Commander's Artist. On Twitter, you can find him at TheRealMadDog58, ladies and gentlemen. That's at TheRealMadDog58. His website, www.thecommandersartist.com. www.thecommandersartist.com. He's created the brand new logo that we use in front and in back of every episode of The Right Side with Doug Billings. You can see it, ironically enough, right over my right shoulder here on the back wall here in the studio. The Right Side with Doug Billings. Also, right next to that one, that beautiful portrait of President Trump. Isn't that a beauty? That one's called Behold My Chosen Leader. Commander's Artist, cheers, and thank you very much for everything you've done for us here on The Right Side. God bless, and God bless America. Thanks, everybody. Good night.